And now we're in part 4, I believe, of the Saga of the Volsungs. Because, for some reason, my internet decided to die, and I could no longer continue the live stream. I don't know what all was lost. So I'll just recap where I think the internet cut out to and continue from there. We were speaking of concerning King Byock and his sons. Byock is married to Grimhild, a woman who is well versed in magic. There's another king who's more powerful than them. Brynhild has a brother named Atli. He is large, grim, great warrior. Grimhild is a grim-minded woman. The Byockings flourish chiefly because of Byock's children, who has surpassed most others. Basically, every single person surpasses every other person previously introduced. It's just a rising escalation of everyone being more awesome than the last person mentioned. Except that one person fell in love with somebody else. And yes. The important part is Brynhild and Gudrun talk. Chapter 27. Brynhild interprets Gudrun's dream. I dreamt, said Gudrun, that many of us left my bower together and saw a huge stag. He far surpassed any other deer. His hair was of gold. We all wanted to catch the stag, but I alone was able to do so. The stag seemed finer to me than anyone else. But then you shot down the stag right in front of me, and that was such a deep sorrow to me that I could hardly stand it. Then you gave me a wolf's cub. It spat on me with the blood of my brothers. Brynhild said, I will tell you just what will happen. To you will come Sigurd, the man I have chosen for my husband. Grimhild will give him his bewitching mead, which will bring us all to grief. You marry him and quickly lose him. Then you will wed King Atli. You will lose your brothers, and then you will kill Atli. Gudrun answered, The grief of knowing such things overwhelms me. And now she and her attendants departed and traveled home to King Byock. That's basically like what happened at the beginning of the books, where, oh yep, I killed your folks, now I'm gonna marry you. Hope no revenge happens. Oh well. 28. The ale of forgetfulness is blended for Sigurd. Sigurd now rode away with that mass of gold, leading his companions in friendship. With all his armor and burden, he rode Grani, traveling before he came to the hall of King Byock. He rode into the fortress. One of the king's men saw him and said, I think that one I don't know how to talk anymore. I think that one of the gods is coming here. He is a man equipped in all gold. His horse is far larger than others, and his weaponry is exceptionally fine. He is far above other men, and he himself surpasses other men. The king went out with his retainers and greeted the man, asking, Who are you who rides into the castle? No one dares do this without the permission of my sons. He responded, I am called Sigurd, and I am the son of King Sigmund. King Byock said, Be welcome with us, and receive everything you desire. Sigurd entered the hall. Everyone was short compared to him. They all served him, and remained there for great favor. Sigurd, Gunnar, and Hogni rode together, but Sigurd surpassed them in all accomplishments, although they were all mighty men. Grimhild perceived how much Sigurd loved Brynhild, and how often he mentioned her. She thought it would be more fortunate if he settled here, and married the daughter of King Byock. She also saw that no one could equal Sigurd, and realized the importance of his support. Besides, he had exceptional wealth, far exceeding what men had known before. The king treated him as if he was his own son, and they esteemed him more than themselves. One evening, when they sat together drinking, the queen rose, went to Sigurd, and said to him, It is a great joy for us that you are here, and we wish to set all good things before you. Take a horn and drink. He accepted it and drank from it. She said, King Byock shall be your father, and I your mother, while Gunnar and Hogni and all who swear the oath shall be your brothers. Then your equal will not be frowned. Sigurd received this well because of that drink, because he could not remember Brynhild. He stayed there for a while. At one time, Grimhild said to King Yuki, put her arms around his neck and said, "The most valiant hero that can be found in the world has come here. There would be much support in him. Give him your daughter in marriage, along with many riches and such power as he wants, and he might be able to find pleasure here." The king replied, "It is a rare thing to do to offer one's daughter, but there is more honor in offering her to him than in having others propose marriage." One evening, Gudrun served the drink. Sigurd noticed that she was a beautiful woman, and most courtly in all things. Sigurd stayed there for 5 seasons, and lived in friendship and fame. Then the kings now spoke among themselves. King Yuki said, "You have done us much good, Sigurd, and you have greatly strengthened our state." Gunnar spoke, "We want to do everything to encourage you to stay here a long time. We will offer you a position of authority and our sister's hand, and no one else would receive such things, even if he were to ask for them." Sigurd answered, "Be thanked for this honor. I shall accept." They now swore a pact of brotherhood, as if they were brothers born from the same parents. A magnificent feast was prepared, lasting many days. Sigurd now wed Gudrun. There were all sorts of festivities and entertainments that, as can be seen in each day's feasting, proved better than the one before. They now traveled widely throughout the lands, performing many splendid deeds and killing many kings' sons. No men worked such bold deeds as they did. They returned home with a large store of booty. Sigurd gave Gudrun some of Fafnir's heart to eat, and after this she was much grimmer and wiser than before. Their son was called Sigmund, like Sigurd's dad, because we don't want this to get any more confusing than it already is. One day, Grimhild went to her son Gunnar and said, "You are prospering in all matters except for one, that you are unmarried. Ask for Brynhild in marriage. That would be the noblest match for you could make, and Sigurd would ride with you." Gunnar answered, "Certainly she is beautiful, and I am not unwilling." He told his father and brothers and Sigurd, and they all encouraged him. 29. Sigurd rides to the wavering flames of Brynhild, the daughter of Budli. Now they magnificently prepared for their journey. They rode over mountains and through valleys to King Budli. They presented their request of marriage. He was well disposed to the match, provided Brynhild did not refuse. He said she was so proud when she said she would only marry the man she wanted. They rode now to Hilmdale. Hymir received them well. Gunnar told of his errand. Hymir said that the choice of a husband was Brynhild's. He said that her hall was a short distance away, and he believed she would only want to marry a man who rode through the blazing fire surrounding it. They found the hall in the fire, and there they saw the golden roof fortress with a fire burning around the outside. Gunnar rode Goti, and Hrogni rode Holkvir. Gunnar spurred his horse toward the fire, but he shied away. Sigurd said, "Why are you drawing back, Gunnar?" He replied, "The horse does not want to leave this fire," and asked Sigurd to lend him Grani. "He is at your disposal." Gunnar now rode at the fire, but Grani did not want to go. Thus Gunnar could not ride through the fire. Sigurd and Gunnar exchanged shapes, as Grimhild had taught them. Then Sigurd rode with Gran in his hand, and on his feet he bound golden spurs. When he felt the spurs, Grani leapt towards the fire. There was a deafening roar, and the fire swelled, and the earth began to tremble. It was as if he rode into pitch darkness. Then the fire subsided. Sigurd dismounted and went into the hall. Thus it is said, the fire began to flare, and the earth began to shudder, and high flames to heaven towered. Few of the king's men had courage enough to ride into the fire or leap across it. Sigurd with his sword spurred Grani on. The flames expired before the prince. The fire fell back before the fame-hungry one. The harness was radiant, which Regin had owned. And when Sigurd got past the flames, he found a beautiful dwelling, and in it sat Brunhild. She asked who this man was. He called himself Gunnar, the son of Yuki. And with the consent of your father and the agreement of your foster father, you are my intended wife. And provided I ride your wavering flame, and if you should so decide. I hardly know how to respond, she said. Sigurd stood straight by the door, resting the hilt of his sword, and said to Brynhild, I shall pay a generous marriage settlement of gold and precious treasures in return for your hand. She answered gravely from her seat, like a swan on a wave, in her mail coat, with her sword in her hand and her helmet on her head. Gunnar, she said, you do not speak of such things to me, unless you surpass every other man, and you will kill those who have asked for me in marriage, if you have the courage to do so. I was in battle with the king of Gardariki, and our weapons were stained with the blood of men, and this is what still I desire. He replied, you have performed many splendid feats, but now call to mind your vow, that, if this fire was crossed, you would go with the man who did it. She recognized the truth in his answer and the significance of his speech. She rose and received him well. He stayed there for 3 nights, and they slept in one bed. He took the sword Gram and lay it unsheathed between them. He asked why he put it there. He said it was fated that he must celebrate his marriage in such manner, or else die. He took from her the ring Andvaranot, which he had given her, and gave her now another ring, which was from Fafnir's inheritance. After this, he rode away through the same fire of his companions. Sigurd and Gunnar changed back to their own shapes, and then rode to Hilmendale and related what had passed. That same day, Brynhild journeyed home to her foster father. She told him in private what the king had come to her, and rode through my wavering flames, declaring that he had come to win me. He called himself Gunnar. Yet when I swore the oath on the mountain, I said Sigurd alone could do that, and he was my first husband. Hymir said that it would have to remain as it was. Brynhild said, my daughter by Sigurd, Aslag, shall be raised there with you. The kings now went home, and Brynhild went to her father. Grimhild received them well and thanked Sigurd for his support. A feast was prepared, and a great many people came. King Budli came with his daughter and his son Atli. The feast lasted many days. When the celebration ended, Sigurd remembered all his vows to Brynhild, although he did not let this be known. Brynhild and Gunnar sat down together at entertainment and drank good wine. Chapter 30. Dispute of the Queens, Brynhild and Gudrun. One day, Brynhild and Gudrun went to bathe in the river Rhine. Then Brynhild waded further out into the river. Gudrun asked what this meant. Brynhild said, why should I be your equal more in this than in other matters? I think my father is more powerful than yours. My husband is more accomplished, and many splendid feats, and rode through the burning fire. But your husband is a thrall of King Hjalprek. Gudrun answered angrily, it would be wiser for you to hold your tongue than to insult my husband. Everyone agrees that no one at all like him has come through this world. It is not fitting for you to insult him, because he was your first man. He killed Fafnir and rode through the wavering flames when you thought he was King Gunnar. He lay with you and took from your hand the ring Advarnot, which you can now see here for yourself. Brynhild saw the ring, recognized it, and became as pale as death. Brynhild went home and said no word until that evening. When Sigurd came to bed, Gudrun asked, why is Brynhild so gloomy? Sigurd replied, I am not certain, but I suspect we shall know soon enough. Gudrun said, why does she not take delight in wealth and happiness and the praise of all men, as married the man she wanted? Sigurd said, where was she when she said this, that she thought herself to have the best man or the one that she most wanted to marry? Gudrun answered, in the morning I shall inquire to whom she most wants to marry. This I ask you not to do, Sigurd replied. For once done, you will repent it. That morning they sat in their bower, and Brynhild was silent. Then Gudrun said, be cheerful, Brynhild. Did our conversation distress you? What prevents your happiness? Brynhild replied, malice alone brought you to this. You have a grim heart. Do not think that, Gudrun said. Tell me instead. Brynhild answered, only ask what you think is best for you to know. That is suitable for noble women. And it is easy to be satisfied, while everything happens according to your own desires. Gudrun replied, it is early yet to boast, but this is somehow prophetic. Why are you goading me? Have I done something to grieve you? You shall pay for marrying Sigurd. I cannot bear that you enjoy him and that vast treasure, Brynhild answered. I did not know of your agreement, said Gudrun, and my father might well arrange a marriage for me without consulting you. Brynhild replied, Our talk was not secret, and yet we had sworn oaths. You knew you were betraying me, and that betrayal I shall avenge. Gudrun answered, You are better married than you deserve, but your pride will not easily subside, and many will pay for this. I would have been content, said Brynhild, if you did not have the nobler man. Gudrun answered, You have such a noble husband with abundant wealth and power that it is uncertain who is the greater king. Brynhild replied, Sigurd fought Fafnir, and that is worth more than all of Gunnar's power, as is told. Sigurd fought the dragon, and that afterward will be forgotten by no one, while men still live. Yet your brother neither dared to ride into the fire, nor to leap across it. Gudrun replied, Grani would not run the fire with King Gunnar on him, but Gunnar dared to ride into it. There is no need to challenge his courage. I do not hide my lack of goodwill for Grimhild, Brynhild said. Gudrun answered, Do not blame her, for she treats you like she was your own daughter. Brynhild replied, She contrived this whole onset of this misfortune that consumes us. She brought Sigurd that ruinous ale, so that he could not remember my name. Gudrun answered, You speak many unjust words. It's a great lie. Brynhild replied, Enjoy Sigurd as if you had not betrayed me. You are undeserving to live together. May things proceed for you as I foresee. Gudrun answered, I will enjoy more than you would wish. No one has reported that he was too good for me, not even once. Brynhild answered, You are spiteful in your speech. When you regain your composure, you will regret this conversation. Let us no longer bandy words of hate. Gudrun said, You first flung malicious words at me. Now you act in a conciliatory way. Yet hatred is at the root of all of this. Let's stop this useless chatter, said Brynhild. I kept my silence for a long time in the sorrow of my breast, yet I love only your brother. Let us think of other things. Gudrun said, Your thoughts see far beyond the present. Great sorrow came to pass because they went to the river, and Brynhild recognized the ring, from which their conversation arose. Chapter 31. Brynhild's grief only increases. After this conversation, Brynhild took to her bed. King Gunnar received word that she was sick, and he went to see her, asking what vexed her. But she did not respond and lay as if dead. And when he persisted in the matter, she answered, What did you do with the ring I gave you? King Budli gave me his ring on our last parting, when you, the sons of King Yuki, came to him and swore you would destroy and burn if you did not get me. Then he took me aside and asked me which man of those who had come I would choose. But I offered to defend the land and to be the commander of the Third Army. There were then two choices at hand. Either I would have to marry the man he wished, or give up all wealth and his pledge of friendship. He said that his friendship was more profitable for me than his anger. Then I debated with myself whether I should submit to his will or kill many men. I thought myself powerless to contend with him. So it happened that I betrothed myself to the one who would first ride the horse Grani with Fafnir's inheritance, to those who would ride through my wavering flames and kill those men who I decided should die. Now, no one dared to ride except Sigurd alone. He rode through the fire because he was not short of courage for the deed. He killed the dragon and Regner and 5 kings, unlike you, Gunnar, who blanched like a corpse. You are neither king nor champion, and I made the solemn vow at my father's home that I would love that man alone who was the noblest man born, and that is Sigurd. Now I am the breaker of oaths, as I do not have him. Because of you I shall bring about your death. And I have Grimhild to reward in an evil fashion. There is no woman worse or more cowardly. Gunnar responded in such a manner that few heard. You have spoken many false words, and you are a malicious woman to blame that woman who is far above you. She was not so discontent as you are, and she did not torment dead men. She murdered no one, and is praised. Brynhild answered, I have had no secret meetings, nor have I committed any crimes. My nature is different, and I might be more disposed to kill you. Then she wanted to kill King Gunnar, but Hogni put her in fetters, and Gunnar said, I do not want her to live in chains. Brynhild answered, Do not concern yourself about that, because from this day on you will never see me cheerful in your hall. I will neither drink nor play chess, speak entertainingly, embroider fair garments with gold, nor give you advice. She declared it the most grievous sorrow that she was not married to Sigurd. She sat up and struck her tapestry so that it tore apart. She bid her chamber door to be opened so that her lamentations could be heard far away. Now the sorrow was boundless, and she was heard throughout the stronghold. Gudrun asked her serving women why they were so gloomy and sad. "What is wrong with you? Why do you go about like mad people? What panic has seized you?" Then a woman from the court, Svarflod, answered, "This is an evil day. Our hall is full of grief." Gudrun spoke to her friend. "Stand up, we have slept a long time. Wake Brynhild. We will get to our needlework, and be cheerful." "I will not do it," she said. "I will neither wake her nor speak to her. For many days she has drunk neither mead nor wine, and a godlike wrath is upon her. Gudrun spoke to Gunnar. "Go visit her," she said, "and say what grief pains us." Gunnar answered, "I am forbidden to see her or share her wealth." Still, Gunnar went to visit her and tried many directions of conversation with her, but received nothing in the way of an answer. He went away now and met with Hogni, asking him to visit her. Hogni, though saying he was not eager to see her, but went to get nothing from her. Then Sigurd was found and asked to visit her, but Sigurd did not reply. So matters stood that evening. The next day, when Sigurd returned home from hunting, he met with Gudrun and said, "I have come to see that this horror is full of portent, and that Brynhild will die." Gudrun answered, "My lord, strange and marvelous qualities are associated with her. She has now slept for 7 days, so that none dare wake her." Sigurd replied, "She is not sleeping. She is plotting harsh deeds against us." Then Gudrun spoke tearfully. "It is enormous grief to foresee your death. Go and visit her and see whether her vengeance will subside. Give her gold and so appease her anger." Ah, man. It's like my jaw is getting tired of speaking. That's so sad. He thought Brynhild asleep, threw back the bed covers from her and said, "Wake up, Brynhild. The sun is shining throughout the town, and you have slept enough. Throw off your sorrow and be happy." She said, "How arrogant you are to come to see me. No one has behaved worse towards me in this treachery." Sigurd asked, "Why do you not speak to people? What is vexing you?" Brynhild answered, "I will tell you of my anger." Sigurd said, "You are bewitched if you think I think harshly of you, and you received as your husband the one you chose." "No," she said, "Gunnar did not ride through the fire to me, nor did he pay the marriage settlement and slay men. I wondered at the men who entered my hall. I thought I recognized your eyes, but I could not perceive clearly because of the veil that lay over my fate." Sigurd said, "I am no nobler a man than the sons of Giuki. They killed the king of the Danes and a great prince, the brother of King Budli." Brynhild answered, "I have many wrongs to discharge against them. Do not remind me of my anguish. You, Sigurd, killed the serpent and rose to the fire for my sake. The sons of Giuki did not do that." Sigurd answered, "I did not become your husband, nor you my wife, and a noble king paid your marriage settlement." Brynhild replied, "I have never looked so upon Gunnar that my heart was gladdened. I loathe him, although I conceal it from others." "It is terrible," said Sigurd, "to not love such a king. But what troubles you most? It seems to me that his love would be worth more than gold to you." Brynhild answered, "It is the most grievous of all my sorrows that I cannot bring about that a sharp blade will be reddened with your blood." Sigurd said, "Hold your judgment. It is a short wait until the biting sword will stick in my heart, and you could not ask for worse for yourself, because you will not live after me. From here on a few days of life are left to us." Brynhild answered, "Your words do not come from a little distress. Since you cheated me of all delight, I care not about my life." Sigurd replied, "Live, and love King Gunnar and me, and I will give you all my treasures so that you do not die." Brynhild said, "You do not altogether know my character. You surpass all men, yet no woman has become more loathsome to you than I." "Something else is closer to the truth," replied Sigurd. "I love you more than myself, although I was the object of deceit that can now not be changed. I always when my mind was my own, it pained me that you were not my wife, but I bore it as well as I could since I lived in the king's hall. Yet I was happy when we were together. It may be that earlier foretold will have to happen, but not shall be feared. Brynhild answered, You have delayed too long in telling me that my sorrow grieves you, and now I shall find no comfort. I should like us both to enter one bed, said Sigurd, and you to be my wife. Brynhild answered, Such things are not to be said. I will not have 2 kings in one hall, and sooner would I die before I would deceive King Gunnar. Now she recalled their meeting on the mountain and sworn oaths. But now everything has changed, and I do not want to live. I could not remember your name, said Sigurd. I did not recognize you until you were married, and that is my deepest sorrow. Then Brynhild spoke. I swore an oath to marry that man who would ride through my wavering flames, and that oath I would behold or else die. Rather than have you die, I would forsake Gudrun and marry you, said Sigurd, and his side swelled so that the links of his mail burst. I do not want you, said Brynhild, or anyone else. Sigurd went away. As it is told in the Lay of Sigurd, out went Sigurd, leaving talk, hero's worthy friend, and grieved so deeply that having breast of the battle-eager one sheared from his sides the iron-woven shirt. And when Sigurd entered the hall, Gunnar asked if he knew what about Brynhild's affliction, and whether she had recovered her speech. Sigurd said she was able to speak, and now Gunnar went to visit her again and asked her what her sorrow meant and whether there was a cure for it. I do not want to live, said Brynhild, because Sigurd has betrayed me, and he has betrayed you no less when you let him come into my bed. Now I do not want to have 2 husbands at the same time in one hall. This shall be Sigurd's death, or yours, or mine, because he told Gudrun everything, and she reviles me. I'm going to leave it off there for now. Got about 20 pages left. Whew. My voice is tired. Well, I'll finish this later. Bye-bye.